Very excited to be joined by the wonderful Paul Usher. Hello, how's it going?
Hello.
Yes,
I
let's
told you
wave.
I was going
Wave.
to do my game show wave. Uh,
It's a beautiful game show wave. Have you
I
been
love
on a
it. How
game
did you go
show?
on forever? No, but I'd want to do one of those like I always analyze the claps on like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire when they're like,
Mhm.
so yeah, I'd want to be really awkward.
Okay, so we're putting that out there in the world. Paul wants to be on a game show.
Yeah,
We'll make it happen.
make the nation feel really awkward.
How are you doing? We've been chatting about we're both slightly struggling from colds and various
Oh,
various stages of that. So
gosh,
how are you feeling? You okay?
the tidal wave of phlegm has
Mhm.
receded slightly, which is nice. Which is a nice way to start, isn't it?
Sexy.
But
New
yes,
that's your new single, right? Tidal Wave of Phlegm.
viscosity.
Mm.
But yes, it's not a nice first impression for a lot of people to have, is it? But it's something I've been struggling through. Yeah, because we've delayed this once or twice because of me and my chesty problems.
Hey, don't
So I
worry.
feel like I'm on the recovery path now, which is nice.
Well, I'm glad
Uh,
to hear it. You're looking very well as well. Where do we find you
Thank
in the
you.
world? Where are you at?
I'm in Manchester, in England, not New Hampshire, Manchester. I think there's one there, isn't there? Yeah,
Hmm.
Manchester, England. So that's my hometown, even though people do try and accuse me of not sounding like I'm from Manchester. But yeah, I am from here. I am born and raised. Yeah.
It's true. You're from there. I get that all the time with Scotland as well. I think when I say I'm from Scotland and they are you? I think people expect me to have a really strong Glaswegian accent. I'm like, I'm not from
Right.
Glasgow. There are other places too.
Your accent's really nice, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you
I
very
like.
much. Oh, that's the right thing to say.
I feel like I would be like an audiobook membership to hear you read me a story. You know.
Oh, charming. Straight from the mine is the phlegm. Very charming.
Man, is just halfway through. Yeah.
Well,
Bonus feature.
yeah, exactly. Speaking of Manchester, we'll begin there because I was just in Manchester for Manchester Pride. When was that? 2 weeks ago, a couple
Ah,
weeks ago. Which
yeah.
I totally randomly went on a whim. I'd never been to Manchester Pride before, but I know that you were there as well. Obviously,
Yes.
how was
Yes.
it? How was your Manchester Pride?
Yeah, it was lovely. It was obviously it was extra special in many ways because of COVID and because it was cancelled last year. And not only that Pride was cancelled, but we just haven't been out and haven't seen sort of friends, haven't danced in public, haven't been around the gay community. Even the once or twice I have been out is to like heterosexual offices and stuff. And so it was just nice to be back in that environment, that space. And obviously, well, I say obviously, maybe some people don't know, Manchester Pride is like a 3 day, 4 day August bank holiday weekend event. So it's like a holiday as well at the same time, even though it's in my city, because you're out all day and we had nice weather in the day, and then there's like clubbing in the evening. So it's like it's like an arc and adventure. So it was nice to hang out with friends and dance in public and just sing Bad Romance at the top of my voice and stuff. So yeah, and bump into old friends as well. Because sometimes you just bump into people as well. Like, I didn't know you were here. Huh?"
Yeah,
So it's a bit
all
of
the waves.
like I say, the reuniting of friends and community and everything. So yeah, how did you find it?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Like, I think similar first time back. I think really in such a big sort of space with so many people, and like it was very much like a festival as well as like Pride, which I thought was really
Hmm.
was really cool. And so I really I really loved that, really enjoyed that. Slightly overwhelming as well. I'm not gonna lie. When I first arrived, I was a bit like, whoa, okay, this is
Hmm.
quite big. There's a lot of people here.
Yeah,
But
it's massive.
yeah, but it was cool. Like really joyful, fun, and weather was great. I had a good time. I enjoyed the live music in one of the gardens that was like off the
Oh,
Canal
Sackville
Street.
Gardens.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
I was up front for Tom Aspel up the top there. Really enjoyed his
Ah,
that
love
was really
Tom
good fun.
Aspert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
WM, the WM.
That's the
Oh
one.
God, he'll charge you royalties for that, won't he? Sorry, I shouldn't have
Yeah, yeah. Stop there. Um, and then I loved
But
the vigil as well. It was really
oh yeah,
amazing, which is quite
Nathaniel Hall, who was the director of it and like the presenter of it, he's one of my friends, and it was amazing, wasn't it? It's very. That's one of the best things about Manchester Pride in the sense that I don't know like if London Pride does a similar thing.
No.
I don't think it does. It's real heart and soul of not just Pride, but of the community, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
it's honouring people that have passed, honouring people that are still here and fighting, honouring. Well, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's very emotional. I cry all the way through it. You know, and when they're going, oh my god, but it's a wonderful thing to be a part of, and it makes you feel very grateful and very humbling, and yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, it's such a yeah, a really special part of that. And I was thinking that, I would even go back to Manchester Pride just for that day, actually, just to have the vigil at the end.
Mm.
I think it was such like, yeah, such a really lovely moment, and yeah, got out some some emotion that was probably sitting there for a long time, I think, as well. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
no, it is really
really,
moving. I
um,
normally cry at the end, but this year I was crying from like 10 minutes in. Yeah. This is where I got the AIDS ribbon
yes,
as well.
I have mine attached to another shirt somewhere still as well. So yeah, yeah, I've got mine in there as well. Oh, great. Well, yeah. Well, well, happy Pride to you, belatedly.
Right. Shame I
Um,
didn't see you there.
well, do you know? I mean, so I think I did actually spot you at some point, but then there's
Oh,
that. So I think I was sitting in one of the bars. I can't remember which bar. I think it was maybe Brewers or something, like upstairs, like the windows. And I'm sure I saw you walking past. But it's that thing where you've not actually met someone in real life, or you've just met on the internet. And then you're like, how do you?
yeah.
You just scream after
Oh,
you, hello, yeah.
yeah, I'd have welcomed
Well,
your
I should have
presence.
run out into the street and called your name, but
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. What
hey.
was I wearing? Do you know? I don't. I was trying to think. What day was it? What day?
So I feel like this probably was. I feel it might have been after the vigil actually. So on the Monday evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I think. I mean, also, you know, it could have been at any point. It was a few days of Pride happening. So some point I was in the bar sitting there. But yeah, no,
Oh.
it was a good time. Good time. And so, what else are you up to these days? How's the music making? What's in the pipeline?
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on in the world of Paul.
The music making is how to describe it? Asking any artist in this environment is slightly a treacherous ground, isn't it? You know, obviously, being independent artist is already a lot of hard work. You know, your own not only singer songwriter, but your own marketing department and everything. But during COVID, it's like, oh, even the gigs stopped, right? Okay. So it's been a bit of a challenge. I mean, obviously, some challenges are great because they force you to be more creative, you know, and which has slightly happened. You know, my last single, I was going to say wrote, but I'd already written it before COVID, but I recorded it all remotely with the producer and things. So that was a challenge, and a way I'd never worked before. Sending sort of stems back and forth and listening to mixes and not being in the same room, but it still sounded excellent and I was very happy with it. So in that sense, it maybe has opened doors to collaborate with other people, which I might not have been open to before because I was like, oh, I don't know how it will work. But now you were forced to make it work. So in that sense, it could make more connections around the world more viable. But yeah, so it's been a bit of a challenge in the sense that I just want to be in the studio or doing gigs, and it's all a bit stopped, hasn't it, really? But still, like I say, trying to keep going, still trying to find ways around doing it all.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I released. God, lockdown's been so long. I was going to say I released one single, I released two singles in lockdown. God, I don't, and filmed like videos. Don't know
Right.
how.
Well,
I don't know
that's
how. I
that's
managed
not
to film.
that's not too bad. It's good going
I managed to
for a
film
lockdown
one
year.
video during that open period of about 2 months we had at the end of last year
Yeah.
when we were allowed. And that's the Time Don't Heal video. I don't know if
Mm.
anybody's seen it, but it's
I've watched that
it's
video. It's
also
a great
full.
video.
Oh, thank you. I love the venue. I hired this. Well, it's not a cafe, it's a bar, but it's designed like a cafe. It's got like 70s wallpaper and 70s porn mags and things. It's like, oh my God, how could you not hire this place? It's amazing. It's called Sammy's, by the way, if anybody wants to go and have a cocktail there. Thank you, Sammy.
Where is
But
Sammy's?
yeah, it's fun. It is in the northern quarter of
Yeah.
Manchester, but I'm trying to think, is it Swan Street? I'm trying to think of the exact
Okay.
street. It might be Swan Street. But yeah, the northern quarter. So you'll find it.
Cool.
But even lockdown forced creativity there as well because at the time we were allowed out for a couple of months, but we weren't allowed to mix with households and stuff. So there's no one else in the video. Well, there's one other person in the video, but we made it so it was awkward between us in the storyline of the video, but that also allowed us to adhere to social distancing guidelines
Yeah.
and things. So yes, the lockdown has forced creativity in many ways, you know. So it was
Well,
interesting.
sometimes putting
So yeah,
those.
still doing music, and I've recorded my next single already as well. That's another remote job.
Nice, nice. I was just gonna say sometimes putting those
Oh, sorry,
boundaries
I just
up.
interrupted you there.
That's all right. Yeah, we're good old Zoom. We're having I said sometimes with those boundaries in creativity kind of help, to make you think in different ways, I think as well. So sometimes it can be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I do like a boundary. You know, I did music at uni, and it was composition and things. So we had some modules where we were tasked to write a certain song in a certain way, and they were really good. I mean, some of my friends hated it. They were like, "I hate being told what to do or how to do it," and I liked the challenge. I mean, yeah, sometimes the songs were great if they were completely out of your comfort zone, but just to force you to have to write about a topic you've never written about before, or force you to have to work on an instrument you're only sort of very well, you're sort of learning, you're not competent really at and stuff, and just that, like you say, forcing creativity with boundaries, I think is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Where did you study music?
Well, I studied at every sort of level, if you know what I mean, but the university I was referring to was ICMP in London.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, I lived in London for like 7 years just before I moved back up to Manchester,
Okay.
which I loved, by the way,
Yeah.
and that course was great as well. Yeah.
Oh, good. And so, are you now uh, full time music making, doing your own stuff? And what's that journey been then into the singer songwriter life?
Yes, I am full-time rich artist, raking it in. Spotify pays me loads of money. It's completely fair. Don't we all have that experience,
Yeah.
Ben? Don't we all have that experience?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
No. I mean, I think Spotify pays me like £5 every time someone plays something, just once. That's how it works, isn't it? I'm sure it is. Going to be on the phone now, like suing you for like slander.
I doubt it.
But no, so God, I do like everything and everything. So yeah, obviously, the gigging thing is stopped, but that was a revenue stream. But no, I have another job, part-time job. So it allows me to have income, but then also have time to write music, work on music, make all the videos and things. But I feel like that's every artist I know at the moment, even ones that are doing really well. They're still like, yeah, it's doing really well, but it's still not covering all the bells.
Yeah.
So it's a bit shocking in that sense. But yeah, we make it work. We make it work. We try our best.
Yeah. This is true.
So yeah, I'd love to be doing music full time, but that's one of the good things about uni as well, because obviously not only were you getting the degree out of it, but it was just focus time just to do music all day, every day, and things.
Yeah.
But we're working to get back to that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Absolutely.
Not uni necessarily, but yeah.
Being able to be creative fully all the time. That is a dream in many ways for sure. And what are your sort of
Also, I didn't catch that. It's
oh,
break.
that's right. Hey, gonna break. Ba, 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 bum. Um, so what about some of your creative inspirations in terms of what you create yourself these days?
Do you mean people or just any kind of
Yeah,
inspiration?
I kept it quite vague there on purpose, really. Just wanted to
Oh,
see.
right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Is it other
There's
musicians
my
or
analytical brain.
I know, right? Other musicians, or is there something else that inspires you creatively as well?
Yeah, I mean, just to be a complete stereotypical narcissist, I inspire myself. My life inspires me. My work is autobiographical in that sense. So, yeah, all the songs I write are very personal and very quite frank. um, which I like. You know, one of my inspirations, I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, is Amy Winehouse. And not that I'm kind of trying to say I am as good as Amy Winehouse. I just mean, you know, her work is very autobiographical whilst also being frank, no pun intended. Um, you know, she talks about everything from her, you know, love life and things, but just social commentary. She can refer to like a book she's read or an album she's listened to, all within the lyrics, and it's quite rich in its references. That's another one of the reasons why I love people like Frank Ocean as well. He does a similar thing. So I do like writing autobiographically, and you know, I've got songs called like Jesus is a Preston Boy, which refers to not only where I'm from, but also it's a social commentary, bits of religion in there thrown in. So yeah, it's all inspired by my life. But sometimes I do write the odd song about like a book I'm reading or something, because I do like so if a particular book moves me, then I'm like, oh, I've got to put this to song, you know. But in terms of artists as well, there's so many. I could just list like 800, couldn't I? But anybody that's brave. I know that I don't like using the word brave in many ways, because some people think you mean like physical fights, but I just mean, you know, anybody who's willing to be honest and open and do even the genre of music. You know, if they're willing to do a genre of music that's not on trend or something that's just like, this is me, this is what I'm doing, that always inspires me. I mean, at the moment, look at people like Lil Nas X, who's just being gay, which is great to see.
We
Great
love
to
it.
see, isn't
We
it? You
love
know,
it.
it's yeah, so many. I mean, I play the piano, so I'm very inspired by people like Stevie Wonder and Elton John as well, and Alicia Keys and things like that. Because I'm always like, ah! I was sat here with my piano, trying to be gospel, you know, trying being the word. But so yeah, I've always been mesmerized by piano and piano players. But Elton John's a good shout as well, because he mixes the two, doesn't he? Obviously, being a gay man, openly gay man, and the flamboyance of his stage outfits and costume, not costumes, but well, some of them are costumes, aren't they? The Donald Duck one.
Yeah.
And obviously his piano playing and things. So yeah, I do like a good singer songwriter who's sassy.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And what about yourself as a performer being open? How how has that been? Is that something that's always been the case with you, or is that a bit of a journey in itself to
um,
get there?
yeah, very much a journey. I mean, I started playing the piano when I was about 12, and I started writing around the same time. But I didn't start, I mean, obviously at 12, I didn't know I was gay either, but I didn't start sort of referencing it in lyrics until like 5 or 6 years ago, really, you know. And it's funny because I never considered it as me hiding sexuality. Obviously, when you first start writing, regardless of what you want to write about, it's new to you anyway, so you're not necessarily that adept to it. But even when I became better and better at songwriting, you still use words like you instead of he or she. But again, I never tried to hide it. I mean, I never wrote a song, for example, that said she in it. You know, I was never trying to come across as heterosexual. Which, no offense to people that do that, because everyone's on their own journey. Some people, you know, it takes a long time. And look at someone like Ricky Martin. I respect him, and yet he's got songs like She Bangs and stuff. But didn't think I was going to be referencing She Bangs in this chat, but no, I've just
But,
done it.
yeah.
But
Hey, you never know what's going to come up. Yeah.
funnily enough, I think people like Amy Winehouse, I think, inspired me in the sense just how frank and open she is, you know, and um, it's shocking some of the things she says, you know, and but it's, you respect her all the more for it, you know, for being open and things. But I think the main change was when I went to university, and obviously it was in London, so I had to move away from Manchester and move away from, you know, everyone I knew. Uh, and whilst that could be scary in one sense, it's also liberating. So there's no one to, I don't know, have to live up to or disappoint potentially. You just you, aren't you? And that accidentally, because it was sort of an accident, fed into my music, where I probably had been censoring myself before without even realizing.
Mm.
And then when there was just no one around to have to censor myself for, you start writing songs that talk about, you know, gay life and things. I mean, every one of my songs now, not everyone I ever write, but everyone I've released has referenced the fact that I'm gay in the lyrics, not just in like me holding a pride flag, but in the lyrics. And I do that purposely in the sense that I want it to be so that if you were to hear it on the radio, you don't see a picture of me, you don't see the video, you'd still understand that it's an LGBT song. Because I want, one thing that's always stuck with me is something like when Lady Gaga released Born This Way. And I don't write big dance bangers like she does, but just I like the idea that, she has got lines in it, not just "You're Born This Way," but about lesbian, gay, transgender, and that could be played on a radio station, say in, the heart of Texas or Georgia, where if you put that on a billboard, it wouldn't be allowed, it'd be taken down, and yet she's kind of infiltrated people's houses with positivity and representation, So I
Yeah.
think if you actually put LGBT content in the lyrics, it's something that can reach someone who's in need of that, who
Mm.
needs to hear that, need that representation in a way that I suppose they could ban the song, but in many ways it just gets played on the radio and people don't think too much of it because it's not a video, it's not a billboard with a political message, And so, like I say, I don't make big dance bangers, but that inspired me in the sense that, I could say someone could hear one of my songs, whether it be on a playlist or something, and just go, oh, because it might not even be on an LGBT playlist, it might be on a pop play, R&B pop playlist, and that,
Yeah.
oh, this tune's talking about my life, something that I've experienced, which doesn't happen or didn't happen to me when I was growing up. You didn't think, oh, they're talking about how I feel.
Mm.
Obviously, with some artists it did, because universal emotions like heartbreak, but specifics,
Mm.
like he
Yeah,
loves
that's
you.
yeah, that's really. I've never sort of thought about it as much in terms of that and kind of the what you're saying by being quite upfront with some of these lyrics as well, and how that could, reach the right ears that it needs to
Yeah.
reach, which I think is great. And speaking of your lyrics, and you mentioned this already, um, your song "Jesus is a Preston Boy," which I absolutely love, and that's how I first got to know you. I think somehow
Oh,
somewhere I found that song and then found
oh,
you, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. I think I'm probably one of the sort of when I started doing this playlist and podcast, I think it's probably one of the tunes that I first played on it. So it's really lovely to come and actually chat to you now, and I'd love to hear a little bit
oh.
more about that song actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that I've got a chance to explain it really, because I mean, I think it's kind of self-explanatory, but then some people ask me questions like, well, I don't understand it. And so maybe that's a failing on my part as a songwriter, that it's not self-explanatory. Or maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the fact that I've made something that people are inquisitive about is quite interesting. But because I think, I mean, this is obviously my own fault, but with using Jesus in the title,
Mhm.
people suddenly think, oh, is it a religious song, or are you trying to slag off religion? And it's neither of those things, actually. It's just a simile, a very dramatic simile, but I am dramatic. For the song is about the first guy I ever loved, and I bumped into him at Manchester Pride, actually, not this year, but a few years ago when I wrote the song. And obviously, I wasn't expecting to see him. I just bumped into him. But both meeting him for the first time and also just bumping into him had such a huge reaction to me. I remember actually being on the phone to my best friend, and I said, "Oh, I've just bumped into him." She was like, "Oh, you all right?" And all this, because I was like, "No, I'm not all right." But I said, "It's like meeting Jesus," and obviously she's like, "That's ridiculous," And the simile was there because the feeling of sort of overwhelm, but also the feeling of kind of peace and serenity you assume you'd feel if you ever did meet Jesus, and also the kind of part that he's played in my life is just this huge central role that even now we're not together, has this sort of shadow that still influences things that I do today or people I date or things like that. So in that sense, the simile is not that I'm saying he is God on earth, but just that there's a person in your life that came into it, who changed it, who in some ways redeemed me, in some ways saved me. So it's only a simile, but sometimes people think I'm being quite literal or something and saying, I'm not trying to claim that Jesus is from Preston. I'm just saying that the boy I fell in love with was. But it obviously helps in a narrative term in the song to then therefore go on and reference how religion persecutes, gay people. There's a rap. Well, I do say a spoken word section because although I am rapping, I feel wrong to try and claim that I can rap. We'll just call it a melodical-esque rhythmic spoken verse, um, where I do go on to reference, how religion has persecuted gay people, but hopefully I don't do it in a heavy way. There's comedy lines in it as well, little sassy turns of phrase, get on your knees and worship him. That's what I've already been doing, and lots of other things like that. So yeah, it's so that's what it was inspired by. I don't know if that does come necessarily across, but it does start by saying, sticky feet, the drinks were dirt cheap, I saw you in August. So it sets up this narrative of how I saw him, and that was in like a dive bar. And this simile also, I'm just stretching the simile out now, but about how, I had no money at the time. I don't think he did. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But we still found love, and who would expect, I say this in the song, who would expect love would be found off the M61 northbound? It wasn't a sunset beach with diamonds and champagne. It was in like a dive bar in Manchester, where the drinks were dirt cheap, and yet we found love. And I also like that representation of love that you do hear sometimes in songs, but not necessarily that often, where it's not about the sunset diamond glam lifestyle love. It's about everyday
Mm.
love that most people experience. Because I don't want to try and pretend that I've got a yacht or anything when I don't have a yacht, and I think that's a nice thing to put in a song as well, that it's just cheap, real love.
Yeah, but no, absolutely. And I love that you kind of mix all the things that I really like in songs in that one song, and just hearing you talk about it as well. Like, I really enjoy storytelling in songs, and you speaking, setting up that story from the beginning, from the outset. Um, I I think humor totally has a place in in music and in pop music. I think it's great when that happens. And also, I don't think I know any other songs that mention Preston. So,
That
it,
yes, it's funny. It's an R&B kind of pop song that's produced in a bit of a Frank Ocean kind of way, Frank Ocean light kind of way.
mm,
And yet, I feel like it's lyrically inspired by more people like Lily Allen, Jarvis
right.
Cocker, Morrissey type thing. So it is a melding of worlds in that sense. But
Mm,
I love people like Lily Allen and stuff.
yeah.
That just yeah. Again, a bit like Frank Ocean, just that razor sharp wit, but it's in
Yeah.
a pop song, and
Mm,
it's not a novelty song. That's what I love about things like that. It's
yes.
just
Yeah.
a witty observation, but with a sincere message.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think, yeah, I mean, like pop music in its great expansiveness of what it can be, it can kind of be anything, and like it's such a good vehicle for kind of any of that stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah, you can put humor and really serious messages in there as well. So it's a great tool for doing all of that, I
it
think.
does make people raise an eyebrow. Because is he serious? Is that a joke? And you're like,
So does the Jesus in the story know this song exists? Does he know
this
that
is
he's
really
Jesus?
embarrassing. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. The thing is, I've not told him, so in that sense, no. But I'm like, I think you've probably heard it. It's really embarrassing. Imagine if he hears this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is gonna be bad.
Well,
But
surprise, we've got him right here.
I'd love if you've done a Cilla Black moment.
Yeah,
But
I wish. I don't have the budget for that quite yet, but
I don't know. All you need is a sparkly blazer.
well, yeah, okay, fine. To be fair, I've got the budget for that. That's fine.
But
In fact, I've got a blazer right here. This guy.
yeah, no, yeah, I feel like I'd be quite interested to know. But I think it's one of those things. But actually, this is a question for you because you're also obviously a songwriter. Do you
Mm.
tell people when you've written a song about them?
Mm. No, I don't think. No, I don't think I have done. I'm trying to think, is that actually true? Uh, I feel like in previous songwriter lives, in other bands and in other guises, I think there maybe have been some songs that might have been influenced by like a relationship at that time that I
Mm,
might have like have told them. But
yeah,
um, I think sometimes I am quite metaphorical in my songs, and although it's always based on an experience, and there's probably someone in mind, um, I think uh, I don't have my Jesus is a Preston Boy song. I don't think I've ever written a song that's so like direct about one person. Um,
okay.
so, but yeah, so yeah, it's a really interesting one. But then also, I don't know. It's funny because like I sometimes almost I don't know if you find this as well. Maybe not with the song we've just been talking about, but maybe in your other songs, like you might have a particular experience or person in mind when you write it, but then as you write it, it kind of expands and becomes about a few different things. And then
Yeah,
also, it's always really interesting, or I find it interesting to find out what people think the song's about might be something totally different to actually what you were thinking about. Um,
yeah.
so
That's
sometimes I quite like that about the meaning of songs can change with the listener.
yeah, it's really interesting that. I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, I thought the song was about this type of thing. And I was like, oh my God, it's not. But it, in a way, it is, because to
Yeah,
them, they think it is, and it's brought them some kind of happiness or peace or anything like that. And so, in that sense, to them, it is that thing.
yeah,
Um, it is interesting, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I'd kind of like people to know when I've written a song about them, but I don't know how you'd really have that conversation. If you were in like, if the song was a really nice, happy song,
Mm,
and you were in love and you're like, oh, this is about you, that's kind of fine. But anything apart from that is a bit
mm,
like, even if it was
mhm.
about a friend, would you go up to a friend and go, this is about
Do you also the other way around, sort of the other way around of that? If you're ever like dating someone or whatever, and then they find out that they write music, have you ever had them be like, "Oh, you're gonna write a song about me"?
Oh yeah, we always do
Yeah,
that.
and you're
Oh,
like,
that's
"Oh,
bad. I don't
yeah."
know if you found this. And this is actually probably something that's, I don't know, really awkward actually. I've never spoken to anyone about this. This is like therapy now.
Okay, yeah.
About if you're dating someone new and then they ask, oh, who's this song about? Well, I mean, like an old song, like Jesus
Ah,
Christ Boy or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And then you're like, we're not ready to have this conversation. If I wasn't a singer songwriter, we wouldn't be having this conversation about tell me everything about your love life and
Yeah.
exes yet, because we're on like the second date or something. And yet you're like, oh, I checked out your music. Who is it about? And you're like, have I really got to just tell you everything about my life right now?
Yeah.
Because then you're like, is this going to put you off if you think I've
Mm.
written some song? You know, I don't know. I think it might be like,
That
it
is
might,
really, yeah, that is really interesting. Yeah, I've definitely had that as well. And it's weird because it's like you're obviously you're putting it out there in the world and it is a part of you and like your life, but it's also like, you know, if I wanted to just tell you my deepest, darkest secrets, I could write a diary and print it for everybody to see. Like, you know, it's
yeah,
not, I'm not just like willing just to talk about it because I've like released it.
yeah,
It's
it's
quite funny.
weird. Because I had it awkwardly. My song Paper Cups is about a guy who I met whilst I was in London. And it was like kind of whirlwind romance type thing. But he was from Lisbon and I thought he lived in London. So I met him on this night out and then we like went on a few dates in like a week. Um, and then it was like, oh no, I'm here on holiday. I was like, what the fuck? But anyway, so
Ah,
then he went back to Lisbon and I wrote this song. But now the song is out in the world and like I had someone like a year ago ask me what this song is about, and I was like, "Oh, I met this guy, and he went away, and I wrote this song." And they were like, "Oh, that's a big thing for you to do. You must have like been in love with him." And I was like, "Oh my god, oh god,
oh,
what?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, just someone." And then people are like, "This is the guy I was like on a date with," and I was like, "Do you think I'm like in love with an ex, and now you're not going to date me anymore?" Oh god, this is awkward. I'm just a songwriter. I'm like, "Oh."
just
No.
songs. Yeah, it's funny. But you know, also, if you are going to date a songwriter, you know, be prepared. You might be in there somewhere.
I know, yeah, but they hate that, don't they?
Yeah, no, but it's interesting, doesn't it? I guess it's that part of like all art as well. I'm sure like authors and painters and whoever, you know, that creates
Mm.
art must have that a similar kind of thing, you know, people wondering, how much of it is based on people they know or their
Yeah.
lives. But
But
yeah.
I liked what you said as well about how when you write a song and then it sort of morphs into you think it's about one thing and about another. There's sometimes I'm like, I didn't even realize I was sad or something until I sat down and wrote something. I
Mm,
was like, oh, I'm sad. Sadness came out and I'm sad. Like the song knows before I do how I'm
mm,
feeling or something. Or if a song's old, as it as you grow with the song, you might not actually feel the way the song is anymore, but then it becomes about something else. Like even though the lyrics don't change, the song just becomes about when you sing it live, you're now singing about something else.
yeah. Yeah, no,
It's
totally. I've definitely had that as well, like singing one of my own songs and like doing it live. And then also, there's the whole live thing as well, because it's such a different experience from a recorded song
mm,
or wherever you're performing it as well. But then something, in the room or like something someone said before or whatever it may be, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm actually thinking about this now, or like singing about this
yeah.
or feeling something different. Um, and, I mean, that's also one of the that's why we miss live music so much as well, because you can totally change a song in that moment and make it, something completely different
Yeah.
from what
Ever
it is.
evolving.
Ever evolving, which is why we love music. I was just on the songwriting, and we're gonna hear actually Paper Cups that you mentioned as well, a live version of that. So if you want to tell us anything about that, you can also about the live version. But just on songwriting, how are you quite a regimented songwriter? Like, do you have a sort of a way of doing it? Do you get out all the crap stuff and get to the good stuff, or are you a bit more of a if it comes to me, it'll come out?
I'm trying to think. What am
Or
I?
a mix?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. What am I? I write a lot. Not that it's all good. So in that sense, maybe it's the former that I do sort of write a lot and then sift through for the good things. But hmm, it's hard to say. Sometimes people ask, "Oh, what comes first? Is it the melody or the
The
music or the
classic
lyrics?" And
question.
it's it's kind of it's interesting. A lot of the time, I'm sat either playing my guitar or playing the piano, and I might not even necessarily be thinking of how I'm feeling. You're strumming or whatever, and if you're feeling sassy, you'll just invariably go to some sassy chords or something, and then you'll tell a sassy story and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I was feeling that. Like I say, it's almost like a medium, like I'm holding some kind of portal to my soul that I don't have control over. So I rarely sort of sit down and say I'm going to write about this kind of thing. It is more just as it comes, but in the sense that I do sometimes just sit down to play the piano for fun and play like a cover, and sometimes that will inspire something just because of those chords or that vibe. Um, but then again, sometimes obviously if you see, I don't know, Beyonce on TV and you're like, I want to write something that good, and so you're like that fires you up to write something sassy. But yeah, I mean, I love lyrics, so I do kind of rework lyrics a lot. I'm not happy when I just write something, I don't know, bland. Even though some people are like, oh, but it's what came to you. It's organic, and I'm like, yeah, but I want to like refine it.
Mm.
So I do go back over and over lyrics, whereas I probably don't go back over melody and chords as much as like I do with lyrics. I'm like, oh, I think that melody's good, but the lyrics need to be better.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I think I overthink everything though as well. Everything.
I mean, yeah. Well, I'm here with you on that. But I don't know. Weirdly, I think it's in songwriting. There's definitely parts of it that I overthink, but there's bits of songwriting that might be the melody or the whatever, where it's almost like that's an area where I don't overthink, which is quite nice. Which is it might
Mm.
yeah. There's like there's a bit of it that's quite natural, and then I overthink the rest of it. But there's a moment sometimes where it's quite like it
Yeah,
is what it is.
that's true. I think sometimes when you hit the melody, you're like, that's it.
Yeah,
Everything is now based around this,
yeah,
or a lyric, you're like, oh, that's a really good lyric that I didn't sit down and
yeah.
think of.
You
It just
didn't
came to me.
overthink that bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
then
you're
the
like,
rest
oh,
For the
Got to be
next
based
three
around that.
years, you'll overthink that to get it out there in the world.
I
Yeah.
do that all the time. There's the amount of times I go things like the second verse isn't as good as the first, so I'm not releasing this song.
Yeah. No one's ever
You're
going to
like,
hear it.
oh,
Just
yeah.
for me now. um,
So,
before we bid you adieu, tell us a little bit about the live track we're going to hear. And
oh
then
yeah.
also, I know you've got a new track in the pipeline
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. So tell us whatever you can tell us about that.
Okay, so the live track is Paper Cups. The produced version is a mid-tempo R&B pop song, a bit. I've mentioned Frank Ocean like 3 times, slightly Frank Ocean,
Yeah.
but the live version is just me and the piano and voice, of course, and it's a bit more so down, so it's more like a ballad. And I love just playing acoustically, like doing like a live lounge thing. It's so
Mm.
nice. I mean, it's very exposing, both emotionally and vocally, because you've got nothing or no one to hide behind.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the joy of it as well, the sort of exposure, the danger element, the vulnerability. Brené
Yeah.
Brown would be proud, the vulnerability of it. So
Love
I love
it.
Brené Brown. She's one of the like pillars that keeps me going, I tell you.
Great.
But
Great. Sponsored by.
yeah, so yeah, that's the track, and it was recorded in Premises Studios in London, live and acoustic, and hopefully you and your listeners will appreciate it
Absolutely.
and yeah, enjoy it. And then this next song I've got coming out is coming out roughly around the end of October. Haven't set the actual date yet, but it's my first kind of ballad. It's I love writing ballads, but I'm scared to kind of release them sometimes because I'm like, is it too slow? Is it too, all this overthinking again?
Yeah.
But I
Just do it.
thought I've released like 5 songs now. I've released a couple of remixes, etc. Time for a ballad. So it's still soul pop. The new song, it's called "Don't Show Me Heaven," but it's a bit more singer-songwriter. It's got a slight touch of 60s soul ballads about it, which I really like. So hopefully I've achieved that sound. And so it's still in keeping with the old tracks, but again, a bit more singer-songwriter. So we'll see if people like it or not. Hopefully you will.
Yeah,
So,
fingers
yeah.
crossed. Well, all the best of it, and I can't wait to hear that as well. I feel like that sounds like October heading into darker nights. Winter sounds like a perfect time for a ballad. So,
Yeah, I'm doing my bid for like Spice Girls Christmas #1 kind of territory there.
yes, oh, love it. I, aim for that. I'll always anything the Spice
Always.
Girls did, aim for that.
Yes, tell me about it. I love them.
That's the way to be. Well, Paul, thank you so much for coming to chat to me. It was really great to hear a little bit about your songwriting process and about behind the songs as well. And of course, revisit Manchester through the internet, which I had a lovely time in. And if you've never been to Manchester, you should definitely go because it's a good time. It's good to
Oh,
see.
thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Ah,
And it's been lovely to talk to you in depth, both on a personal level and also about songwriting with a fellow, artist. It's lovely. I've
go.
really enjoyed it.
It's
Also, can I say I've been staring at this little man on your shoulder the whole time.
this is Ken. Who I won
Ah,
once, one of the best presents I ever got in like a Secret Santa gift. So
ah,
now Ken just hangs out
very
with me.
well dressed Ken.
Very well dressed Ken. Yeah, yeah. He's just there, to remind me to dress nicely sometimes.
I appreciate
Hilarious.
it.
Well, from Ken to Amy, from me to
Yeah.
Paul. Thanks so much, and well, we look forward to hearing the new single when it's out. So,
Thank you very
all right.
much. I look forward to hearing more from you as well then.
Oh yes, hopefully, soon. All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.